Welcome to our weekly author chats. We're going to be talking once again this week with Deedee Cummings. She's going to be joining us in just a minute. She's going to be sharing her experiences with doing a talk at a bookstore. So she's going to be telling us all about how that happens, her tips for getting, being able to do that, and what you do once you have it. I also want to put in a plug for people who already have her books, like the Kayla books or In the Nick of Time that we talked about last time, or any of her other books. If you have one of her books, or same goes for any author that you love, be sure to give them a review on Amazon. If you have a book that you really like, just take a few minutes and go onto Amazon, because those reviews really make a difference for your authors, especially independent authors like Deedee Cummings, who's going to be joining us here in just a minute. It really makes a difference. Don't worry if you're not sure exactly what to say, but if you just go and give it a 5-star review, say that you loved it, that really makes a difference to them. So anyway, like I said, we're going to be talking to author Deedee Cummings. These are our weekly author chats. She's going to be joining us here in just a minute, talking about doing a talk at a bookstore, doing a reading at a bookstore. If that's something that you've thought about, or that maybe you hadn't really thought about, now you're wondering if you should be thinking about it, she's going to be giving us her tips and her advice for how to make that happen and how to make the most of it once you have that opportunity. So are you an author? Are you just a fan of her work? Let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And also love to hear what you're thinking about and what questions you have. One of the great things about doing these talks with Deedee is that she has so much experience and she really wants to share it with everybody. So if you have any questions or just concerns, things you're thinking about, if you want to write a book and you just need some encouragement, need somebody to point you in the right direction, she is very happy to do so. And so please be sure to leave your questions. You can put it in the chat now, or you can let us know in the comments afterwards also. So thank you for joining us. She should be getting on here in just a minute. I'm just looking to see if she's here yet. But like I said, we're going to be talking about doing a talk at a bookstore and how you can make that happen, or what to do once you do have that opportunity. I know I've gone to see a lot of talks at bookstores myself, and I hadn't really thought too much about what went into doing those talks. So she'll be joining us here soon, and we can find out all of her tips. And like I was saying, if you have any authors that you really love, make sure to go and give them a nice review, especially Amazon. When she comes on here, we can ask her about Goodreads. I've heard people mention Goodreads as well. I'm not as active on there, so I'm not sure. I know Amazon seems to be the big one. Even if it's just a really quick review, give them that 5 stars. It really makes a difference. And even if you're not sure, don't think you have anything very eloquent to say, it doesn't matter. People really just want to hear sincere reviews. And so if you have an author you love, like Deedee, if you already have her books, then be sure to get on there and tell everybody how much you love them, so that so that other people can find their books more, especially for small publishers. That really makes a difference, because it really helps people find their books. So just waiting, just looking. Deedee should be on here soon. I hope everybody's had a nice week and run up to the holidays if you celebrate. I know not everybody does, but also getting ready for just winter. A lot of schools are on break, or people take break around this time. And if you have any favorite books that you like to read with your kids, or just for yourself, if you have any traditions, there are a lot of families that have traditions of reading books with their kids this time of year or any time of year. I know some people, before a holiday, they'll have a collection of books that they read with their kids, maybe favorites that they read every year, or they have a habit of getting ones and then they read a new books every day before the holiday happens, like especially with Christmas or maybe Hanukkah. So if you have any of those traditions, let us know in the chat, or let us know in the comments afterwards. We'd love to know what your favorite books are to read, and maybe some new ones that you're going to try. So I know we're just waiting here for Deedee to get on. If she doesn't get on soon, then I will take a break and check in with her to make sure everything's all right. But she should be joining us here any minute. So thanks to everybody who's on here. She'll be here. She should be here just in just another minute. As I mentioned before, we're going to be talking about, sorry, just checking in. We're going to be talking about bookstore talks. So have you ever done one of those bookstore talks? Or do you have any tips or do you have any questions? Be sure to let us know in the chat. And let me just do a quick check of the time and see. Okay, I'm going to hang out here for one more minute and then I'm going to take a break and see where Miss Deedee is. But in the meantime, like I said, that we do these author chats every Thursday. We do them at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, 12 o'clock if you're like me and you're in Western Time Zone, it's at noon. We do them every week, but when it gets around the holidays, be sure to check the schedule, or you can just look at the announcements, the posts for Makeaway Media, because they do a really great job of letting everybody know if there's a change in schedule, like around Thanksgiving. We did it on Tuesday instead, and I know that Deedee is actually going to be doing a special reading of her book In the Nick of Time. That's her Christmas book. It's a really beautiful book because it actually, the main character is a black boy, which we were talking about. If you saw the chat from last week, we were talking about how unusual it is to have a Christmas book, a kid's Christmas book that actually has black kids as the protagonists, and especially a black boy. There are just not very many of those. And so anyway, she's going to be doing a special reading of that. Check the schedule. I think she's going to be doing it on Christmas Eve. We'll double check with her when she gets on here. And also, if you haven't entered the giveaway yet, you still have time. The giveaway is still going on, so make sure to check the details on how to enter the giveaway. And since I don't see her yet, I'm going to take a quick break and just check in with her, make sure everything's okay, and we will, oh, there she is. Okay. I was just talking about you. I was just saying that you are going to time. Hold on, she's just getting on here, and we'll find out all the detail, get a little preview of that.
I'm a therapist, and we have a little bit of a client emergency here in the office.
Oh, I hope everything's all right.
It will be.
Aw.
But I am so sorry. I was just in Denise's office, and we looked up at the clock, and we both were like, oh my gosh, time just got away from us. I sincerely apologize to everybody who's on, and it looks like Charlene is on. Charlene joins us every week, so I absolutely hate that you all have been waiting on me. That's not my typical style at all. How are you?
Well, good. I was actually just talking about, can you give us the details, because I couldn't remember off the top of my head. I know you're going to be doing a special reading of In the Nick of Time. Am I right that that's on Christmas Eve you're doing that?
Well, actually, our two chances for a reading of In the Nick of Time. There is a chance to hear a live reading of In the Nick of Time this Saturday at 2 o'clock. I'm going to be at Carmichael's Bookstore, which is a large independent, I believe Louisville's oldest independent bookstore, this Saturday, which is one of the reasons why we were going to have the topic that we have today about authors getting in bookstores. So that's this Saturday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. If
And I think you froze there for a minute. You said it was at 2 o'clock Eastern Time?
2 o'clock Eastern Time. If you get on the Carmichael's Bookstore site, you will be able to access the link to see me do a reading Saturday at 2. And then for us, I don't believe it's Christmas Eve. I believe it's Thursday, December 23rd. I apologize. I didn't already have this pulled up.
I think I caught you off guard. I knew it was right before Christmas, but don't worry, we'll be doing
It's
plenty of announcements ahead of time.
23rd at 8 p.m. I'm going to be doing a reading, and I hope that everybody joins and has their kids in PJs and hot cocoa. Because I don't know, Santa might show up, the real Nick from Instagram might show up. I don't know who's going to show up. But
How fun!
yeah.
Well, I'll have to put that on my calendar.
Yes, definitely. I'm still looking for the date just because I want to make sure everybody has the right date because that is going to be a lot of fun. Did you talk about the giveaway we have going on?
I mentioned the giveaway. If you want to elaborate on that more, that would be great. I just mentioned that it was still happening, so they still have time to go and enter.
Yes, the giveaway is a big deal. So you can find our giveaway on our social media. You can also find it on Twitter, or you can go on our website and look at the very last blog that we posted, and the link to the giveaway is in there. But we have a really exciting giveaway coming up where we're giving away all 5 Kayla books. Plus, there are a lot of Kayla goodies. We have stickers and coloring sheets and all kinds of neat things, plus a $50 gift card. And right now, there aren't a whole lot of people signed up for the giveaway. So you would have a really, really good chance of winning if you sign up for our raffle copter giveaway. You could even email me directly if you want to, which is Deedee. It's Deedee dot Cummings, Cummings at ymail.com. It's just the letter Y, like Gmail, but it's the letter Y. Deedee.cummings at ymail.com. And I will send you the link directly to sign up. But it's an exciting giveaway, and it's coming at a perfect time because you probably will have it before Christmas, so it would just make a great Christmas gift too, if that's how you want to use it. If you're like me, I love picture books even as an adult, so I want to keep it to myself. But let's talk about, so we talked about the readings that are coming up, which I hope people plan, and we talked about the giveaway. Let's talk about what we were supposed to talk about today, which is and it looks like people are just now joining, so that's a good thing, guys, because we got off to a late start. Totally my fault. But what we were supposed to talk about today is if you are interested in being an author, or if you are an author and you're having trouble getting into bookstores, I wanted to just give you a few tips today how to do that, because the holidays are a great time to get into bookstores. But don't wait until October or November to contact a bookstore and ask if you can come in and do a reading. That's actually too late. Even September is too late. August might even be too late. Contact stores in May, June, or July and ask them if you can get on their calendar for November and December to do bookstore readings if you want to do a holiday reading. And you don't have to have a holiday book to do a holiday reading. Lots of kids are home during the 2-week break typically that most places have over the holiday break, and parents are looking for things other than video games or just TV programs to let their children watch online. And so if you can get a virtual reading at a bookstore, and like with me, what's happening this Saturday at 2 is I'm actually going to the bookstore to do the reading. So there'll still be some light traffic, even though it's a virtual reading, there'll still be some light traffic. And I'll get to meet people there at the bookstore who might even want an autographed copy of a book. And so it just helps you with book sales to appear at places in person. I sell a lot more books in person than I do just with the books sitting online, because once people meet you and they hear what you're passionate about, then a lot of times they do want to support your work. And don't be discouraged if they don't buy a book that day, because they may have come into the bookstore with a very specific agenda or shopping list, and maybe they can only get the 2 or 3 books they came to the bookstore to get, but they'll keep your mind after they meet you, and they may very well end up getting your book at a later date. Probably will get your book at a later date. So don't be discouraged if they don't walk out of the store with your book that day. But find out who is the event coordinator for the bookstore that you want to meet, or that you want to ask if you can have this partnership with them. Find out. So don't just send a generic email to just any email you find online. Find out who their event coordinator is and what their name is. So if their event coordinator's name is Mike Thompson, then make sure that you write to that email and you say, Dear Mike or Dear Mr. Thompson, whatever it is you're comfortable with. However, you usually, write your salutation to people. Tell them who you are, give them a link to your website. Do not give them a link to your Amazon account because bookstores don't like Amazon. So don't even
that's a good point.
don't even mention Amazon at all. Send them a link to your website. It is good if it's a bookstore you've supported too. So like I love Carmichael's and I've bought many things. Like during the pandemic, my family bought so many puzzles from Carmichael's. I've lost count of bought. So it's good if you have supported them too, but you don't have to have supported them. But send the event coordinator an email directly. And if for some reason they don't have an event coordinator, they'll tell you who that person is who fulfills that role. But you want to make sure you have a specific name, not just a shot in the dark. Also, think outside the box a little bit. It doesn't just have to be a bookstore. The key is really just to meet people in public. So I even did a bookstore signing at Learning Express, which is a toy store here in Louisville. Leanna, do you all have a Learning?
Yes.
So I did a book signing at Learning Express. They're really known as a toy store, but they also sell books. And what better to meet kids? So one of the most successful signings I ever did actually was at Learning Express. But don't be afraid to reach out to people and ask. Now, Barnes and Noble won't do a book signing unless they carry your book. So a lot of people want to do book signings at Barnes and Noble because their traffic is so high, but you actually have to apply first for Barnes and Noble to carry your book. And it's not a super simple process. It takes some time and some follow-up, but you can do it. All that information is online for how to apply for Barnes and Noble to carry your book. You just go to Barnes and Noble or Google, how do I get Barnes and Noble to carry my book? There's an application and you have to send a copy. You might have to send 2 copies of your book. But once they accept to sell your book, then they will allow you to come in and do a book signing. But independent bookstores are pretty flexible, and very often they are looking for authors to come in and do events, because when they have authors in their store, that brings traffic into their store. So they actually do want this. It's not as difficult as you think. A lot of times people are afraid to ask bookstores for partnerships like this because they think, that their name isn't big enough. But actually, the majority of us, I mean, obviously, like if Tommy Adeyemi or Alice Walker or somebody like that was at a bookstore, of course, we want to go see them. But it's also cool to meet people who aren't as well known, because that's how you really learn about different perspectives. A lot of people are now familiar with what's that guy that wrote The Fault in Our Stars? Nicholas Sparks, I think is his name.
Yeah, Sparks.
A lot of people are with his work, but you would actually really have a unique perspective that would be appealing to people. People would want to come in and meet somebody who is not as well known. So don't be discouraged by that. Don't ever think, I'm not a big star yet, or I'm not a big enough star, because people are looking to meet regular, everyday people who have had the courage to put their story on paper and sell it.
And somebody local. I mean, that's always a nice angle too, is that people want to support somebody who's local. And I'm not sure how it happens, but a lot of times it'll end up on our local news if there's some local author, because they love spotlighting local people. I was going to ask you, when you were talking about like the big bookstores like a Barnes and Noble versus an independent bookstore, do you have a recommendation? Like, would it be easier if you've never done a reading? Is it maybe easier to get started with an independent bookstore because it sounds like their process is a lot simpler? Or what advice do you have for that?
It is easier to get started with an independent bookstore. Back to the whole Amazon thing. Don't get discouraged if the independent bookstore finds out that you are on Amazon and then they don't want to have anything to do. That does happen very often. Bookstores just, Amazon has really come close to putting a lot of bookstores out of business. And so that's why there's that kind of friction there.
Sure.
Huge bookseller, and it's just so easy now to just go on Amazon. Literally, you just tap 2 taps and you can order the book you want. So I want to say this too while we're on here, even though this isn't exactly what we're talking about. If you do have the opportunity to buy a book, if you don't need it the next day, if you don't need it, brought to your door the very, think about going online and supporting a small independent bookstore. Buy the book from them. They'll still ship the book. It might not be there the next day. It might take a few days, but it's really important to support your local bookstore. And again, that makes for a good partnership. When they recognize your name and they know that you've been supporting them, they're also more likely to support you. But I have heard stories of people going to independent bookstores and them finding out that they were on Amazon and being turned down outright. That has happened.
But just because they're on Amazon, or because they're only on Amazon?
Because
Wow.
because they're on Amazon.
Really? I mean, I understand when they have that feeling, but it seems like if you're an author and you're not on Amazon, I mean, that's a pretty hard choice to make as an author, not to be on Amazon, because like you said, it's so easy. Although I have to say, during the pandemic, because we have an independent bookstore that I love to go to, and I obviously wasn't going during the pandemic, and I was surprised. I have it in my head just how easy Amazon is, but I was really surprised how easy it was to order from them online.
Yeah.
I mean, it just took a few minutes, and if you order if you order above a certain amount, and if you're getting like 2 books, then you're usually above whatever it is to get free shipping.
Yeah.
It didn't really take much longer than doing Amazon.
It doesn't. And it's a great thing to do because, when you talk about shop local or support mom and pop, you're talking about these types of bookstores. All these little independent bookstores are just locally owned bookstores. If they're not locally owned, they're not independent. They're not truly independent. They're a franchise, greater, like a Barnes and Noble or a Books A Million. But yes, I mean, it actually happened to me early on in my career, and my argument was, you're selling all these books from all of these other publishers, and I know for a fact that they're on Amazon, but it was kind of like a camaraderie thing that, if you're a little indie author, that your partner should be a little indie bookstore.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But I do have to say, the more well-known you get, I mean, they're obviously going to carry your book. I mean, they're going to have the color purple, and the color purple's offered 20 different ways on Amazon. So,
Right.
So obviously, it doesn't apply to everyone, but I do think there's like this camaraderie. Like if you're an indie author, we'll support you, support us. And so it's almost like an allegiance or a union type of mindset
Right.
that, we'll carry your books, but we'll be loyal to you if you're loyal to us. And independent stores really just hate Amazon. And truth be told, a lot of authors hate Amazon. Amazon is not very friendly.
Really?
Oh my gosh. We can have a whole
How
other
how come? I mean, this is good. This is good for me to know, because I know as somebody who
this is a
through
whole
my website, because I have my own blog where I review books, and people complain about Amazon as far as if you're an affiliate. Like if somebody buys through my affiliate link, we really don't get that much.
Yeah.
You just get like a few cents off of it. So is it the same? Is it just like the percentage that you get is not very high, or what? Why? How are they not friendly?
Many things. I mean, literally, we probably should have a whole other talk about Amazon, but I like a lot about Amazon. And now that I've found a magic, my books are selling on Amazon for the first time ever. But for the longest, for years, my books didn't sell on Amazon. They do take a very high percentage of your profit, but
Right.
that's not really any different than Etsy or, if you sell for Avon. I mean, you're getting a very small cut of whatever you sell for Tupperware. I guess the difference between Avon and Tupperware is my product on Amazon is 100% my product. If I'm selling for Avon, I'm selling for somebody else. But Amazon is very difficult for the small guy to use. There are many more features available for a publisher. In fact, if you go look at the book Hair Love by Matt, and look at how he's able to advertise because he comes through this big publisher. He has these really cool graphics on his profile for Hair Love, and he's even like change the description. The way the description is listed, you'll see is different from just like this block print that a lot of us have to use. And all are only available to traditional publishing houses. So I'm a real publisher. Takeaway Media is a real publisher, but because we're big traditional publishing houses, we can't access certain features on Amazon. I mean, if it's a book, everybody should be able to access those features. I'll give you another reason. I spent hundreds of dollars turning all of my books into Kindle books. I do Kindle Select, which is another thing that Amazon does to try to like rope you in. Kindle Select, I can't sell my books on like iBooks or there's lots of places where you can sell books. So if I do Kindle Select, I pledge my books only to KDP on Amazon. And so I spent maybe a couple $100 a book turning all of my books into ebooks. And just this October, I believe it was, when I published the last book, it would not allow someone here in my office to publish the last book on Kindle because it wasn't the right format. So we had made all our ebooks in the Mobi format, which was acceptable. When she tried to publish that last book in October, that last book of this year, on Kindle with the Mobi format, she got a message that said that effective August something, Amazon no longer supports the Mobi format. So some people will be able to see your book if they have the Kindle app on an iPad, but if they have a real Kindle, none of those people will be able to see your book, number one.
Even the ones that you had already published?
Yep, even the ones I'd already published. And Amazon did not send an email saying that they were making this change. I only became aware of it because we tried to upload another Mobi file. And it just,
otherwise, you would have never known.
Otherwise, I probably would have never known that people that have a Kindle can no longer access my Kindle file.
Wow.
And this is after spending hundreds of dollars. And I'm not alone. There are authors that have 20, 30 books in the Mobi format that Amazon has accepted for years. And just on a whim, they decide no longer to accept that anymore. And this is a company that makes billions of dollars a year.
Right.
I mean, how much really would it have taken them to make continue to accept the Mobi format? So now I have to spend hundreds of dollars on all of my books. Again, this is after I pledged my allegiance to KDP Select. So I don't even get any credit for that. Because iTunes still accepts the Mobi format. So I have to spend hundreds of dollars. True story. I have to spend hundreds of dollars all over again to change all of my ebooks now to the EPUB format. So if you're in the process of getting ebooks made right now and you want to put them on Kindle, not just Kindle Select, Kindle period, don't waste your money on the Mobi format. They do not accept it and they do not support it anymore. So make sure you get the EPUB format. Let's see, this is All Health Go was giving me hearts, so I hope maybe this is helping you. But yeah, don't spend your money on the Mobi format. Get the EPUB format. And, you know, in the back of my mind, I wonder,
are they going to change again?
Right. Is there going to be a day on a whim again say, well, guess what? Now we no longer support the EPUB format? Or because they're, you know, so massive, we came up with our own format and now everybody has to put their books in that format. I mean, it's not cheap to do that.
Right.
And it's time consuming. So Amazon has a history of doing those kinds of things. And that's why authors find it so frustrating, because it is nothing to Amazon to continue to support that format. It's everything to us. I mean, I don't know a lot of authors who could afford to spend a couple $100s to convert all their books to the EPUB format. That would
Right.
shut readers down. And yes, you can still get it on the iPad, but most people who enroll in KDP, because there's a Kindle Unlimited, it's like Netflix, but it's for,
Right.
if you have Kindle Unlimited, the really high chance, the probability is if you have Kindle Unlimited, you probably have a Kindle, not the Kindle
Right.
app. And so I'm missing that whole audience now of Kindle Unlimited. Nobody with a Kindle can get my. Sorry, I used to put my phone on do not disturb, but because I was late calling in, I didn't put my phone on do not disturb, and so now I'm getting calls. But anyway, yeah, so anybody with a Kindle can't get my books. It's frustrating. Yeah. I could give you 10 more. I could give you 10 more reasons why authors are not that crazy about Amazon. In fact, I believe there is a Facebook group dedicated to authors who refuse to use Amazon anymore because they've had this kind of problem with Amazon over and over and over again. Oh, and I didn't even say the top reason. Here's the top reason. You can't talk to anyone. You have to figure all this out on your own. This is a company that makes billions of dollars a year and they can't pay for customer service.
Really?
You can't talk to anybody. You have to Google everything and figure it out on your own.
So frustrating.
You cannot talk to anybody.
So really, if you are wanting to buy a book and you get it from an independent bookstore, you're not just helping out the bookstore, you're probably doing more for the author too.
Yes.
Hmm.
So, yes, back to our original topics about the bookstore. Making an appearance in a bookstore is one of the best things you can do for your career, and it's fun. It's fun. I love talking to people who learn about my book for the first time. I love it, talking about the book. I love explaining why I wrote it, what I hope people will get from it, which I personally specialize in positive books. And books about empathy and hope. And so I'm trying to infuse happiness into the world. And so I really love talking to people about books because I'm hoping I might make their day a little bit better with what I write.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be such a fun experience to really get to connect to people.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And we also have a book festival called the Louisville Book Festival. It's held every year in October. And a lot of times when people haven't been to a book festival before, they don't understand like what's so cool about it or what's so special about it. And really, what's so special about a book festival is like it is so neat when you overhear a conversation, you hear somebody walk up to a table and talk to an author, and they say stuff like, you know, I started cooking dinner every night because of your book, because it's a cookbook that has like quick and easy recipes that their family loves, or your book saved my marriage, or your
Wow.
book saved my life, which is something we actually heard at the Louisville Book Festival this year. A young man was talking about how this series of one of the authors had literally saved his life. He started reading this series during one of the darkest times of his life, and he was in tears as he talked about this author and her work and how it literally saved his life. He credits her series with saving his life. And so
That's so powerful.
the power of connecting with people in person.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's cool.
That's really,
You're an author,
yeah.
you're thinking about going to a bookstore, just try it. Just try it. Don't be afraid to ask.
And that's good to know too that like how it's happening during the pandemic, that they're kind of doing this hybrid. A lot of times you can still go in person, but you're also doing the virtual readings to make it more accessible. That's not, I was wondering how that was because I'm sure everything was on hold for a while.
Yes. It used to be that readings were, you know, you had to go into the bookstore, but yes, over the pandemic, everybody started doing stuff virtually, which was neat. But the virtual stuff hasn't really ended. So what a lot of bookstores do now is you go into the bookstore in person so you can still meet people live, but you also stream this reading that you do. And so what's so neat is I had somebody from Florida tell me that they were going to join this reading, and that's something that before the pandemic wouldn't have happened. So
But do you advise that when people are going, when they're looking for a bookstore, they should still try and do a local bookstore, or at this point, would it would it matter if they're even local? If it's, I
I,
mean, are some bookstores just doing virtual, or most of them you have to actually be there in person?
some bookstores are only doing virtual yet.
Okay.
Uh, a lot of people, though, have returned to shopping in person, which is really what a bookstore is. So,
Hmm.
um, when stores and restaurants and things like that were shut down when the pandemic first started, what you heard was how that was hurting the economy.
Right.
So that is why bookstores are open and do have the public come in, because it's an economic thing. I mean, it's largely how they make their money. But I do think it's cool that even though most of them are still open, I've found a few small independent bookstores that are only virtual now.
Oh,
But even the ones that are open are still doing this virtual stream because I think they've built an audience. When you sign up for these things, a lot of times
right.
you their website, and so now they've built an audience. Like the Louisville Book Festival was really only intended for people who came to Louisville in person, and now we have this massive mailing list. We have somebody from Africa on our mailing list that attended the Louisville Book Festival. That's not
Wow.
something that happened if not for the pandemic.
Right.
So when we talk about doing the Louisville Book Festival, of course we want to get back to doing it in person, but then we think, well, we've got to do something virtual for this,
Mhm.
this global audience that
Sure.
we've built. So yeah, I think a lot of bookstores are having the same experience.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for all of your tips today. I think we probably ought to wind it down, but like you said, it would be interesting to talk more about the nitty-gritty of publishing and what you've encountered, like the challenges or the advice you have. I think that would be a great topic too. But
Yeah, I also
thank you so much.
it,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I also think it would be good to talk about. I think a lot of people think that they print a they make a book and they automatically need to go on Amazon. And the
Right.
publishing world is just about what's best for you. Whether you decide to traditionally publish or self publish, there's a lot of options now for self publishing, more than ever before. Where you self publish, if you put your book on Amazon, if you put your book on Amazon and somewhere else, if you have a website, I mean, the options are just endless and it's all up to you. There's more opportunities than ever. And it's kind of exciting. But I don't
Mhm.
want people to hear this message and think they have to go on Amazon or they have to have a website. You have to figure out, the only thing you have to do is figure out what's best for you.
Well, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with so many options, so many more. I think it might be a little um, overwhelming, or maybe people just don't realize, like Amazon is just what we're all used to. It's good to know that there are other options out there, so you can kind of figure out what works best for you.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for waiting on me again. I'm
Thank
so sorry.
you. No,
I'm
I'm glad you got it. Some things take priority. We're just glad you could join us.
every
Everybody hung out and waited for you, so
every week I have this list here. I'm going to make like a formal like checklist, and I'm going to put it on our website soon. But I've made this live checklist because
uh-huh.
I learned something else. Like I learned that I need to update my Instagram app before I try to get on, because every week there's an Instagram update, and if there's one Instagram update, then you can't get on live. And I didn't know that before I started doing that. So I add every time I learn something about how to make a better live, I add it to this list, and now I need to add set alarm clock no matter what. Because I was here, I was like, there was no reason why I wouldn't make it on time. I make it on time every single week, and then lo and behold, something throws me off this week, and I'm late. I mean, you should have seen me and Denise's face when we looked up at the clock.
Aw.
My gosh.
Well, I think everyone decided you were worth waiting for because they waited. Yes.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much, Lynn.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.